Welcome to our November 13th regular County Council meeting. Thank you all for being here. We will start with the land acknowledgements. We acknowledge Athabasca County is located on First Nations Treaty 6 and Treaty 8 traditional territory. We respect and honor all First Nations, Métis, and Inuit people's connection to these lands, their history, language, and culture. So I guess I had better call the meeting to order at 9:30. We have the approval of the agenda. And are there any additions or deletions? Okay, one change we would like to make if council is willing to do so, to move the closed session items 12.1 through 12.4 to be after 4.1, our closed session presentation. That's all right with everyone? Okay. All right. And are there any further changes, additions, or deletions? And if not, I'll go around the room to see who and what councillor would like to add items to the agenda to discuss. The ones that I do know about are 2.1, 4.1, 6.1, 7.2, 7.4, 7.5, 8.1A, 8.2, and of course, all our closed session items 12.1 through 12.4. Are there any other items council would like to discuss? Go ahead, please, Councillor Hall.
7.3.
7.3, and I'm sorry, was there another one? Nope, 7.3. Is there anyone else? Alrighty, I'll just run through those again. 2.1, 4.1, followed by closed session items 12.1 through 12.4. 6.1, 7.2, 7.3, 7.4, 7.5, 8.1A, and 8.2. Do we have a motion to approve? Thank you. Councillor Minns would like to approve the agenda as discussed. All those in favor? And are there any opposed? Awesome, thank you. 9-0. With our closed session presentation being at 10:30, we will move to item 6.1, which is on page 16 of your agenda package. And it is bylaw 031-2025, an amendment to the procedural bylaw. All right. Would you like to go ahead?
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of council. This request for decision is before you as a result of a change in your meeting schedule that was previously decided upon by council. So it's just to change 4.1A to read, sorry, 4.1A will be amended to read that the second and fourth Thursday of each month shall be set aside for regular council meetings. Given that council has previously made this decision, we are recommending 3 readings granted, provided unanimous consent is granted by council. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you. Is there any discussion I think we should do? Go ahead, please, Councillor Hall.
Just wondering why we wouldn't use more generic language, like council would be council meeting should be scheduled as directed by council. Because the next time we change this, we're doing this again. And the act doesn't require us to name the dates, as far as I can tell, and the act supersedes our bylaw. We could make this just simple. Before you fall. Also, I think no one in memory can remember the last time we changed our council dates, so it might be another 20 years before we have to fix this.
Madam Chair, I think we're just trying to reflect the current language in the current procedural bylaw, which is very specific. If council wanted to do that, we have no objection. We'd just have to go away and change the bylaw. And if the discussion was that it should be as per your suggestion, we could take that away and bring back another bylaw, and it would just be set at each organizational meeting or something to that effect. We were just trying to reflect the flavor of the past procedural bylaw and what council wanted for this term. That's all.
Okay, thank you. Are there any, please go ahead, Deputy Reid Minns.
I don't know if I should bring it up now or bring it up in calendars. And I think we had a brief discussion on it. So if we go with the second Thursday, then 4 days later, all of a sudden we have a committee of the whole meeting that are coming up. Like, so can administration handle that, or do it bring it up now, or? That's what I'm wondering is do we change the committee of the whole date too, or just leave it status quo? What's the administration's thought?
Madam Chair, agenda deadlines for us would be a bit of a challenge. Actually, it's just as big a challenge for council. You have to read the darn
Yeah.
agenda. So it's a challenge for us. It's a challenge for you. There's a lot of business to take care of. It's almost a separate discussion about are we effective with our time during council meetings? And how should we think about council meetings moving forward? And we would suggest just leave it the way it is or implement the changes that were just discussed. Let our 4 new members of council see how it is, the workload. And then maybe in the new year, we have a discussion about, okay, let's look at all of our meetings and see if we can be more effective as a governing body.
Okay, perfect. I'm good.
Okay, great. Thank you. Is there anyone else? I just have a quick question, being that we're also discussed the August meeting, being the third Thursday. Is that something we would just handle through calendars rather than add it to the bylaw? Okay, just wanted to confirm that. Awesome. All right. Is there anybody else? If not, we can go to the giving in the first reading. So is there? Thank you so much. Councillor Chamzik would like to go forward that bylaw 031/2025 be given first reading as presented. If everybody's ready for the vote.
I'd
Oh,
propose an amendment on that to replace line A with language previously mentioned. Regular council meetings should be scheduled as directed by council.
I'm sorry, I can barely hear you. If I'm hearing fans more than your voice, if you could try that.
Regular
one.
council meetings shall be scheduled as directed by council.
So shall be scheduled as directed by council. Second, so I'm just trying to figure out, so apart from statutory meetings, the regular meetings of council shall be held as follows. And you would like that under A, the second Tuesday, last Thursday of each month shall be set aside for regular council meetings. Where would you like the amendment to be inserted?
So we're talking about bylaw 031/2025. So replacing A under section 1.1 of the bylaw on page 18 with the language previously mentioned.
I'm sorry, I missed the last part, 4.1A.
We're not dealing with bylaw 017. We're dealing with bylaw 031, which is on page 18 of your agenda. So under section 1.1, where
Okay.
the little brackets say A, deleting the words, the second and fourth Thursday of each month shall be set aside for council meetings, and replacing them with the words, regular council meetings shall be scheduled as directed by council.
All right, so everybody has that, page 18, 1.1A. Instead of the second and fourth Thursday of each month shall be set aside for regular council meetings, you would like to say shall be scheduled as directed by council. Correct? Okay, I think we had, just writing that down, administration weigh in, and I tend to agree that, the way this is written, 031/2025, it's clear, it's concise, and it explains exactly what it is that we were attempting to do. So, I would personally be voting against the amendment. But we'll put the amendment on the floor if there's no further discussion. So on the amendment to change 1.1A to read shall be scheduled directed by council, all those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, and those opposed? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The amendment fails. Thank you. If we're ready to go forward, Counselor Chamzik has asked that we move that the bylaw 031-2025 be given first reading as presented. We're ready for the vote. All those in favor? And opposed? 1, 2, 3, that's 6 and 3. If we go forward to the second, do I have a Counselor Stasiak? Stasiak or Stasiak? All right, Counselor Stasiak would like to move that bylaw 031-2025 be given second reading as presented. If we're ready for the vote, all those in favor? And those opposed? 6 and 3, thank you. Do we have unanimous consent? Do we have a motion to go forward to with unanimous consent? Counselor Mins would like to make unanimous consent of all those present for third and final reading. All those in favor? Thank you. And any opposed? Thank you. 9 and 0. Are we ready for third reading? That bylaw 031-2025 be given third and final reading. Counselor Dowlick would like to go forward with that. We're ready for the vote. All those in favor? And those opposed? That's 7 and 2. Thank you very much. Alrighty, we're going to move on to item 7.3, the Local Assessment Review Board decisions, page, pardon me. Oh, thank you. I scrolled down. I checked the wrong one. Appreciate that. Thank you. 7.2, pardon me, page 21 of your agenda package, Development Officer Authority appointment, please. And I asked actually for this one, just, I think this is fantastic that we appoint Diane Cloutier as Development Authority Officer on behalf of Athabasca County as a recommendation. And my only concern was how old the bylaw was. And so I'm wondering after we, if somebody would like to, of course, to put through the recommended motion, I would like to put a secondary motion that we look at bylaw that 25-1995. Okay, is there anybody who would like to put forward that? Counselor Chamzik would like to go forward to appoint Diane Cloutier as Development Authority Officer on behalf of Athabasca County. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? Are there any opposed? Thank you, 9 and 0. And if I may put a motion forward to direct administration to update bylaw 25-1995 for councillors to review at an upcoming meeting. Go ahead.
I guess I have a concern with this. This is like tag teaming something on that's not related to the agenda item. If we want to talk about amending the bylaw, it should come in as an RFD where it can be presented to council in advance for consideration. And so that we can even talk to admin about where does this fit in the schedule? Is this really a priority? Does it actually need an update? Admin has not brought that to us, so I don't think this is the right way for stuff to show up on the agenda where it just gets tagged on at the last minute when we haven't had a chance to think about it through an RFD. This would be easy enough to put on as an RFD for the next time for why there's an argument to update the bylaw.
Well,
We don't need to update stuff just because it's got a 1995 date.
Well, I appreciate your comments and I will respond that the bylaw is in the agenda for everyone to have a look at. It is part of the report. And the fact that it is a 1995 agenda and we should be looking at our bylaws and policies every 4 years to update and ensure that they are with the proper language. And as you note on page 23 in the bylaw itself, it mentions the Municipal Government Act as being 1994. So it's just simple language that needs to be updated to bring it to current legislation.
Okay, but we haven't asked admin if it needs to be updated, and the motion is to direct them to update it.
It's for review, to update and review, and I'm pretty sure once administration would go through and have a look at it, they would also agree that there is some old language in here and old act references that would probably require updating as well, but that's up to administration, which is why it's, if you would like to, you know, look at the motion and ask administration to review the bylaw and update as they see fit, that's fine too. But it is an old bylaw that does require some legislation change, update. Go ahead, please.
just hearing both sides, I guess that the thing that just sticks out for me is especially for, I would say, our fresh council members, is the RFD process specific to all requests for bylaws or decisions, or is it just like for when we feel like using it or not? Because I myself am confused when we need an RFD or not then.
Well, and if I understand the procedural bylaw correctly as it sits, it's councillors can use the RFD if they wish to bring something forward to council.
Well, we can
It
do
doesn't
right
say
now.
it's specific. It doesn't say it's necessary, it has to be used. It doesn't say it has to happen. We have had motions brought forward before when we have different reports and things that allow for that to take place.
I'll just follow up and say thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Because that does take a lot of extra work off our plates. We can just bring our motions when we want to. Thank you.
No, you're welcome. As they make sense, right? All right. So is there anybody who would like to put that motion forward to direct administration to update bylaw 25/1995 for council's review? Or would you like? Sure, I don't mind doing it. I'm just looking to see if the language is appropriate for the motion that council's comfortable with. Okay, thank you, Councillor Stasiak. Would like to direct administration to update bylaw 25/1995 for councilor's review. If we're ready for the vote.
I'd like a
all those-
recorded vote, please.
Okay, and we'll been asked to do a recorded vote. If we're ready for that, I'll ask that everyone hold their hands up a little longer so that I can make sure I get everybody's names out. All those in favor? We have Councillor Dowlick, Councillor Chisholm, Councillor Chamzik, Councillor Calahu, Councillor Stasiak, Deputy Reeve Mins, Reeve Holland in favor. All those opposed? We have Councillor Kapitaniak and Councillor Hall, 7-2. Motion passes. Thank you. Alrighty, I think now we're on 7.3, which is the local assessment review board decisions. Page 26 of your agenda package. The recommendation here is that county council receive the report for information. Councillor Hall, I believe you asked for this item to be discussed.
The question I had was, does admin have any comment on the decisions? And whether any of these constitute a precedent that should concern us or would represent an error in law that we would want to consider appealing? Specifically, there's a decision in there that relates to chattel items and things on skids being excluded, which I think is a change in course from past assessments.
Madam Chair, we didn't review them in that context. If council wants us to, then we could. They're provided for info, just like the past motion of council has asked us to do.
Thank you.
I think one thing I would note is it's good to note that the appeal process, if you're an affected landowner, is not a rubber stamp. The appeal board actually listens to people and they've made a number of changes. So when we encourage people to appeal their assessment because they're unhappy with it, it's not a lost cause. There's some hope that the appeal body would listen to them. So that's encouraging, I think, if you're a landowner.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Is there any further discussion on this item?
Well, then I would make a motion to ask administration to consult with the assessor on whether any of these warrant appeal.
Ask administration, I'm going to write
To
this
direct
down.
administration to consult with the assessor to determine whether any of the decisions in this package warrant appeal. And it may be that none do, and the only reason you can appeal, as I understand it, there's an error in law, but it's worth I think we need to ask that question.
Did everybody get that? And I'll ask Miss Blair if she could read it back, please.
To direct administration to consult with the county assessor on whether they believe any of the decisions warrant appeal.
Warrant the appeal.
And as context, we had some in the past, 4 years ago, where the assessment board made errors at law that created a precedent that would have been extremely detrimental to the tax roll. And that one went back and forth a couple of times on appeal because the board made an error in law. So you can't appeal because you don't like the outcome. It's did they follow the act? And I think it would serve us well to have our assessor provide us that advice after the decision is done.
Thank you. I have one question of administration with regards to appeals. Is it not up to the landowner who put in, who took part, pardon me, in the appeal process of it already, for them to come back and say, I don't agree with that particular outcome?
There's, after the LPRT decision, either the landowner or the county could appeal that decision if we were unhappy with it to the courts. And the courts would review it and make a decision whether or not it should be referred back to the LPRT for more review or substitute a ruling. So if that, I understand that's the intent of the motion, is if any of the ones where the LPRT maybe didn't agree with the assessor, does the assessor think we should be appealing any of those to the courts? That's my understanding. It has nothing to do with the landowner.
Okay.
And I could be wrong.
And LPRT is different than the LARB?
I'm sorry, LARB.
Thank you.
In this case, it's LARB.
Okay.
And so it's the decision of the LARB. And so I'm deducing that the motion was for any that might have changed the assessor's recommendation. Does the assessor feel that a legal challenge is necessary? And I stand to be corrected.
No, I think it serves us to ask that question. We can't just accept it. We know that these are flawed, can have flaws and errors, and when there's been a change in assessment, it's almost no time at all to reach out to the assessor and say, is there any of these that warrant appeal? Because again, we have had some in the past where assessment review boards have made errors in their interpretation of the law, and I haven't gone through them at the level of detail where I have an opinion on it. That's the assessor's job, is they're the experts.
Okay, thank you. Just one more question. Is this standard practice across other municipalities? To do this type of motion as well, to ask for the assessor?
Oh, I don't know about that. Whether it's standard. I mean, it came up, I believe, in the previous term of council that council had specific concerns about how appeals were handled in the past, and you did appeal something to the courts and it was returned for further review. So checking in with the assessor, are there any that concern you, is a simple email, and it'll take an email response back.
Okay, thank you. All right, is there any other further conversation on this? Please go ahead. You're okay? All right. So if I understand it correctly, Councillor Hall would like to move to direct administration to consult with the county assessor whether or not any decisions warrant an appeal. Is that accurate?
The motion on the floor is to direct administration to reach out to the assessor and ask his opinion on whether any assessments are warranted in the way that Ms. Blair has it written down.
Do you have that same wording? Or would you like to read it out so everyone understands exactly what it says? Please and thank you.
Moved by Councillor Hall to direct administration to consult with the county assessor to determine if any of these decisions warrant an appeal.
Satisfactory, Councillor Hall? Okay, there's no further discussion. Are we ready for the vote? All those in favor? 1, 2, 3, and those opposed? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's 6 and 3. Motion fails. 3 to 6, I guess. Thank you. All right, the next item we have our public auction reserve bids, page 84 of your agenda package. And this one is that council, the recommendation here from administration is that council set the reserve bids as recommended and adopt the recommended conditions of sale. Director Daly, would you like to weigh in?
That's correct, Reval. And I think previously, the auction date came to council and that was set for November 28th. So this is just a process of setting the reserve bids. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Is there any discussion on this item? I just had a quick question. Just the third item, I know the part Southwest 316422 west of the Fourth is in Minook. It's a 1 acre parcel, but I wasn't exactly sure where it was. To kind of look at what's around it, just to feel comfortable, the reserve bid. I didn't know where it was located. I could locate all the other ones, but I couldn't locate that one.
Or does it not come up with the roll number on the map?
Sorry?
Does the roll number not bring it up on the GIS map?
Well, when I looked it up, it's part Southwest, but it's a 1 acre parcel, so
Every parcel has a separate roll number though. The roll number is on there.
okay, we'll double check and look at that then another time. Because I couldn't find it, but went through the GIS on that one.
Reval, I do believe that that is a parcel that may be kind of a small parcel that's kind of surrounded by other parcels.
Okay.
It's a part of a, there is a piece of a parcel and then this is kind of connected, but it's kind of surrounded. I could be wrong on that, but I do believe that's what this parcel is.
And it's vacant land?
Yeah,
Okay,
that this particular piece, there's another parcel next to it, which is not vacant. I
Okay.
believe.
thank you very much. I appreciate that. All right, does anybody else have any other questions? Does anybody like to put the motion forward? Counselor Callahan would like to move that council set the reserve bids as recommended and adopt the recommended conditions of sale. If we're ready for the vote, all those in favor? Are there any opposed? 9-0, thank you. All righty, getting to the meat of the meeting, the 2026 draft operating and capital budgets, which is on page 89 of your agenda package. I will turn this over. I'll just mention the recommendation, of course, is that council reviews the 2026 to 2030 operating and capital budgets and recommends changes for further deliberations at the December 11th, 2025 council meeting. And I will turn the floor over to administration. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Reeve Allen. Good day, councillors. Reeve Allen, Deputy Reeve. So the presentation may be something that a few of you already seen, but for the benefit of the new councillors, I'm going to go through the presentation again first, and then we can get right into the detail of the budget. Thank you. So we'll be looking at the proposed 2026 operating and capital budget. So when we look at our developing the budget, we look at basically strategic pillars, strategic priorities of council and what they're looking at going forward. So basically for 2026, the strategic plan pillars, number one was strengthening our economy. So basically keeping Athabasca County vibrant and economically sustainable is fundamental to maintaining a strong community now and well into the future. Second one, investing in infrastructure in our environment. So basically county assets are properly maintained and repaired or replaced if necessary. A community that cares, we continue to focus on the people who contribute to our tremendous quality of life. And then effective leadership and organizational excellence. Our organization has the expertise to serve the county well, and we continually strive for excellence, responsive communication, and strong fiscal accountability. So the budget planning process, basically, we look at, this is just a snapshot of how I guess we develop the budget. We review base budget and actuals, the start of it. Then we consider revenue and expenditure assumptions. Previously, we did a budget survey, which was presented, I guess, at the first October 6th council meeting. We adjust budget based on trends. Then there's a proposed operating and capital enhancements, and then balanced budget based on priorities of council. So this slide is just a kind of a snapshot, the county snapshot. It shows population just under 7,000. Average household prices, 385,000. Total labor force, roughly 3,600 people. And our primary industries are oil and gas and agriculture. And then the circle just kind of shows a few stats on medium income, also medium age, etc. So for 2026, our budget assumptions, property tax revenues, annual tax revenue is projected to increase by approximately 3% each year. However, collecting tax revenue from some producers in the oil sector is a challenge as a large sum continues to be unpaid. Growth. Athabasca County continues to experience growth in terms of subdivision and development applications. For grant funding, Canada Community Building Fund, CCBF, is expected to remain at the 2025 level of 472,666. This is funding basically that comes from the feds, but it's distributed through the government of Alberta. Local government fiscal framework, this is government of Alberta, capital funding is expected to decrease from 1,946,000 in 2025 to roughly 1,786,000 in 2026. LGFF operating funding is assumed to remain the same at 344,000 for 2026. The Consumer Price Index, the 2026 budget predicts sustained but moderate inflation, particularly in areas sensitive to price changes such as construction costs, fuel, food, and fleet-related parts and supplies. Trade tension is expected to still be an impact in 2026. And we've already seen this with the government of Canada, I guess. I mean, just recently lowered their interest rates again. So, I mean, it's going to have an impact on everything, basically. Salaries and wages. Salaries, wages, and benefits. The 2026 budget considers annual salary increments and benefits. Cost of living allowance, COLA. As per policy 4665, an annual review will be completed using a combination of factors, including the Alberta Consumer Price Index information and a recommendation to council in the annual budget process. A cost of living allowance of 2% increase is being proposed in this 2026 budget. Assessment. Over the past 5 years, the assessment growth has shown an average annual increase of 3%. While it is too soon to confirm this year's assessment values, we expect a continued upward trend. The proposed budget anticipates a 3% increase. With the new council, the proposed budget builds off priorities of the previous council. So this current council, you may have new priorities which may affect the proposed attached budget. So if there's something different priority-wise, this budget will change based on that. '26 budget highlights. This budget includes paid on-call firefighters, fire fleet replacement, bridge replacement rehabilitations, park upgrades and playground rehabilitation, plow truck, a grader replacement program, enterprise resource planning, new software system, recreation plan phase 1, the Island Lake water line, gravel road maintenance increased to level of service, public works shop construction, and the Alpac Bridge. So this slide just kind of shows our taxation and assessment by classification. As you can see on the slide, our biggest classification of assessment is residential at 47%. The next, the second biggest, I guess, is linear, 26%. Then we have machinery and equipment, 17%, non-residential, and farmland. So that was assessment by classification. And then this next slide is just the revenue. So as expected, residential is 51%, and then linear 24%, and so on, 16%, machinery equipment, 7% non-residential, and 2% farmland. Is there any questions so far?
So I believe the last time you talked to us about this, we talked about an annual tax revenue increase closer to 5% and an assessment increase of 3%, meaning 3% assessment growth, 2% tax rate, tax rate increase. And the revenue line on the budget looks like it is more in line with the 5%. So I'm just wondering, has that changed since our last discussion?
Through you, Reeve, Councillor, no, that's correct. The revenue line is basically 5%. It's a 2% proposed tax increase and and then the 3% is based on what we expect for assessment. So it would equal a total of 5%, as you mentioned.
So my misunderstanding then page 95, where it says annual tax revenue is proposed to increase by 3%.
The 3% is what we expect from growth in terms of like assessment growth. But then in order to balance the budget, there was also a 2% added. So it's technically, I guess, 5%. 3 plus 2.
Go ahead, please, Councillor Dowlick. Thank you.
Yeah, on your 2026 budget highlights. I don't like it. Well, I like it, but I don't like the fact that we're not looking at any major road construction. That we should be putting some money away or trying to find some money. It's got road maintenance, of course, but I don't know if it's a proper time to bring up Hardtop now or not. Wonder if you can tell me involved.
Madam Chair, councillors are free to pipe in whenever they want, especially, we've got 4 new members of council and they didn't see the first draft. So they didn't get any input into what is here today. It's up to the chair. We welcome all comments. So it doesn't matter where you raise them. It's also mentioned later, so you could talk about it now or you could talk about it later.
Well, if it's mentioned later, I'm just gonna, I'll talk about it later.
All right. Is there any other questions? Okay, thank you so much. Please go ahead.
So continuing on, what the 2026 taxes fund. So basically, based on this graph, you can see the largest area where our taxes fund would be infrastructure and transportation at 50%. Then administration 13%, and then so on going down. Agriculture services 4%, fire protection 10%. And then I guess recreation 8% and water and wastewater 5%. And then we have a 3 or 4 at 2%, 1%, 3%. But this kind of gives you a snapshot where the bulk of the money, like the taxes, go. And then as you can see, infrastructure and transportation, which could possibly in roads, road maintenance, etc., bridges, do take up a rather substantial amount of the tax.
Councillor Hall.
So on the graph, what the taxes fund, are the reserve contributions baked into each category or are they excluded altogether?
It would be total. It would be, so if there is a reserve transfer, it would be included.
So, and I ask because we have other specific reserve contributions that council has asked to be made that I think it's important when we're, putting something like this out for people to see that there's a little wedge that says capital reserve savings for gravel pit reserve reclamation, fire truck. I guess the fire fleet replacement will be in there already, but I guess
There will also be I guess a couple slides here on reserves, which this is the current reserve policy. I know that reserve policy is coming back for a final decision. So once that reserve comes back, those reserves and where they are and where they're distributed could potentially change, or new reserves could be potentially made. But we do talk about a little bit about reserves in this presentation. Not sure if that answers your question.
Thank you. Okay. I don't think there's any other questions. Please go ahead. Thank you.
So I guess next slide, reserves. Reserves play a crucial role in ensuring the stability and sustainability of a municipality's long-term financial plan. Reserves serve to do the following: facilitate effective asset management planning, to support long-term maintenance, repair and or retirement, of infrastructure assets, ensuring the maintenance of adequate service levels. It enables the county to strategically plan for future operating and capital needs, thereby reducing reliance on long-term borrowing, and it stabilizes tax rates. So I guess example of that, I mean, if we are showing, when we go through the budget with our revenues, and if there is a deficit or whatever, we usually do a transfer from reserves to balance the budget because we can't have a deficit budget. So we'll say this is our operating reserves, and these numbers are as of August 31st. And as I mentioned, when the reserve policy comes back, some of these categories will probably change slightly. So this is, you can see the total operating reserve on this slide is 11,300,000, basically 323 million. I mean, 11,323,000. And that's broken down between equipment, public transportation, waste management, pardon me, general operating, FCSS operating, fire and recreation. And then the capital and the total reserves. So capital reserves is, there's a reserve for general capital. We have fire trucks and equipment, roads, water equipment and lines, sewer equipment lines, and airport upgrades. Recreation, there's a reserve for amortization fund. Total capital is just under 10 million. So the balance of our reserves is 21,250,000 with a budgeted surplus of 27,000. So 21,277,000, what we're expecting for 2025.
Counselor Hall?
So again, on the gravel pit reclamation reserve, can you just clarify for all of us where that shows up in here? Because that was a motion of council, I'm fairly sure. Is it in one of these categories? For reference, I believe we seeded with $1 million and then we're contributing $410,000 a year annually afterward.
Right. I think it's in the roads. Yeah. Revolving through, Councillor Hall. You will see this in the common services budget once we go through. Line item, it'll be a line item 2760, transfer to reserves. But in this particular reserves, I think it's under roads, but we will confirm that.
Yeah, Madam Chair, we'll just look into it and get back to you.
Thank you very much. Counselor Stasiak has a question.
I just need some clarification here. These reserves, I'm assuming that this is money set aside in case we need it. This is not our operating budget. Is that correct?
That's correct. This is actually, these reserves are money set aside for these particular items. It's a separate account. Now, I mean, we have one general bank account with a couple of separate like trust accounts, et cetera. So reserves are like kind of restricted. We set them aside and this money is used for that particular purpose of what the reserve is.
If needed.
If needed, correct.
Oh, okay. And so how do
Madam-
they get replenished?
Yeah, Madam Chair, reserves can be set aside for many different reasons. If needed, so something happens, we need a contingency, specific planning, you can set aside to save for something. You could set aside reserves that acts as your own bank account to level out purchases. For example, the equipment reserve is set aside and you keep a certain amount in there. And what it does is level out the purchase price from year to year, especially for ones that we have a 20-year plan on. So we've got a 20-year plan for fire trucks, fire apparatus. Instead of having taxes raised some year to accommodate for it, you set aside a reserve and then you can keep that number.
Right.
So reserves can be set up to accommodate a number of different purposes. There's probably 5 or 6 different purposes. So when we can certainly send you the last reserve discussion item that we sent to council, and it talks about those purposes.
And so then, do we normally just keep replenishing this as a percentage of our general revenue, or just as we think we need it eventually?
Well, Madam Chair, the previous council noted that the reserves itself needs a lot of work.
Needs it?
The reserve, the actual accounts, like there's some there that make no sense, but they weren't really the work of the previous council or previous administration. There's one called amortization fund that none of us know what was for, but it's there. So we're going to bring ahead a discussion item to council with, and it's pretty much done. Director Ambley has been working on it for about 4 months with specific targets and specific purposes, and we'll have it for you early in the new year.
Yeah, essentially what my concern was, is trying to understand how these funds are put in place, and do we increase them every year to get up to speed where we should be with them, or do we just let them sit as they are thinking they're okay, or?
Yeah, and that'll take, we've got an item ready to go, and some of them we find are actually probably funded already there, and we can focus on other ones, but we've tried to establish what targets should be given what you want to achieve in the future. Some of it's guesswork because
Yeah,
we
okay.
don't have full asset management planning here. Like we don't have a 10-year road plan. So we've picked figures to set as a target. But some of them you'll find when we bring the item back, they're already funded. So we're good and we can focus on other areas. And it's really been council driving this at each budget process saying, we think we need to fund this a little bit more. And so we've been responding, but previous council also knew that we would work on a whole new policy, and we've got it ready to go.
Thank you, appreciate.
Councilor Dalek?
So, just going back to contingency, so is the contingency already included in the capital, say like community services or whatever, it's $50,000. Is there a contingency built into that, or?
Well, are you talking about, Madam Chair, can I redirect with a question? Are you talking about each capital project?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, most capital projects, contingency is built into the budget established for that project.
Yeah, that's.
So you build it in there. It's not really reserves, but
It's
reserves are there in case maybe we don't have money in the budget, and if we had a capital project that we had to come back to council and say, look, this thing looks like it's going to go over, and we didn't budget for it, and we need a resource of funds, we could use reserves. But most capital projects have contingency built into the budget.
Okay, yeah, that's my, so we haven't got an item saying contingency.
No, but there's a couple of accounts you can use for contingency almost any time.
Like a reserve, you know.
Almost like call it a rainy day fund or a just in case fund. There's a bit of that and there will be that going forward.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All righty, thank you. Please go ahead.
So continuing so in 2025, we have some projects that's not going to be completed. So 2025 carry forward projects. And these are majority are capital projects. So we have infrastructure under infrastructure services, Island Lake Water Line, 15.6 million. Infrastructure services, Alpac Bridge, 1.8 million. So the total cost of this bridge was 1.9 million. And basically, we expect to spend 100,000 in 2025, and then we're going to carry the remainder forward in 2026. Now that 100,000 may be a little lower, so whatever the difference is, I mean, it could be say 1.85 rather than 1.8, depending if we do spend the full 100 or say 50,000 or 25,000 of it in 2025. But the total project initially was 1.9 million. That's why there was originally a question that why is it 1.9 but it's showing 1.8. That's because we expect to spend 100,000 in 2025. Fire protection fleet replacement, 690,000. Community and protective services, a bio IDP, 50,000. Security camera and yard lighting, 36,000. And then laser level attachment transit for excavator, 9,500.
Counselor Dowlick.
Just a quick question. Tell you that on the Island Lake, water line, 15 million. What happens with the interest? Is that just going to our revenue or does that number increase?
With that, that's a grant from the government. So with that, in most cases, they don't pay us the money up front. We have to submit reports, and once we submit progress reports, they would pay us money. So few years ago, the government used to give you grant money up front, and like the municipalities could gain interest on it. But probably, I'd say maybe 3 years ago or so, they didn't start paying until like, and I'm mostly referring to like the CCBF and the LGFF, used to be OMSI. They don't give the money until the end of the year when we report that the project is completed. So they actually keep the money and they get the interest.
Okay, thanks.
Welcome.
Thank you.
So moving forward to the 2026 proposed capital projects. First one we have is under administration, enterprise resource planning software system, 500,000. So this basically, currently we're on Microsoft Dynamics. Some people may know it as Great Plains. This system is nearing the end of its useful life. 2028, basically it's expected not to be supported, possibly usable in 2029, but at the end of 2028, it's no longer going to be supported. We already see, for example, municipalities going forward, changing systems. So now this is why you're seeing this in this budget for, so basically a new financial system. Infrastructure services, billing maintenance based upon billing condition assessment, 500,000. And the UPS upgrade, administration ease trough system, administration billing, HVAC study, council chambers windows are just some of the projects that will be covered. Infrastructure services, shoulder posts, 450,000. Fire protection, Highway 63 rescue base, teen center renovation, 225,000. Infrastructure services, public works yard and facilities, 15 million. Infrastructure services, bridge replacement, 1.95 million. And this is in addition to the LPAC bridge. Infrastructure services, asphalt overlay annual program, 1.526 million. Grader replacement program, 1.5 million. Plow truck, 350,000. Skid steer, 235,000. A lift station electrical upgrade, 200,000. Madam Chair.
So sorry, Counselor Dowlick. Thank you.
Okay, just a quick question. How do we come up with 235,000 for a skid steer?
It's It's the quotes that we looked at for the large skid steer. So it's a big skid steer. It's pretty much the biggest you can get.
Well, okay, so it's just not a skid steer, it's a larger piece of equipment. Thank you.
Grassland, so continue. Oh, is there another question? So continuing, grassland reservoir electrical upgrade, 200,000. Willow Point access, 185,000. Outhouses, 160,000. Recreation plan phase 1, 100,000. Hydrant installations, 50,000. I'd just like to say, for most of these projects that I'm listing here, there is business cases, and you will see it in the detail of the documents. In case you're wondering, like, what some of these projects may be.
Go ahead, Counselor Capitania.
And I just want to confirm, like, some of these things have grants for them as well already, like outhouses and whatnot. It sounds, we not have recreation grants coming. That too, like last year.
For some, there's grants, but for the main, well, we have a grant for Alpac Bridge, for example.
Yeah,
But some of these, if there's. Most of these right here, that I'm listing, these smaller ones don't have grants, but if there's grant opportunities, we always look for grant opportunities. If there's opportunity come up,
Okay.
well, we would apply for a grant. Other than the yearly, like CCBF kind of community building fund or the LGFF grants, I mean, which we basically allocate the capital based on, based on the criteria that they state for those particular grants. But there is, like, say, for example, STIP or something like that, we would have to apply specifically for those, like the Water for Life grant, that kind of grant, we would have to apply specifically for those type of grants. So like, yes, the Water for Life, that is a grant, Alpac Bridge is a grant, but most of these that I'm listing, as you see, when we go through the detail, there is not a grant attached to them currently.
okay, so just to confirm, I just had a recollection of us getting recreation grant funding for outhouses maybe a year or two ago, and it wasn't all of them, but it was like
NRED.
okay. And so did we utilize that for outhouses?
Yeah, I think
Well,
that was the NRED, Northern Regional Economic Development Grant, and I think we've tried to apply it to capital moving forward, and the program changed a bit.
Okay,
So they don't want it applied to capital. There's some opportunities there, but unfortunately, I don't think these are funded by that.
well, thank you for that answer, just was curious, thank you.
Counselor Hall.
So Willow Point's a relatively new subdivision. How, and my understanding was that access and road connections are the developer's responsibility. So how did this get dumped on the county where we're paying for Willow Point access when it should be something that's the developer's responsibility?
The Willow Point subdivision was previously approved. It doesn't meet our current standards, so that's how it's ended up on our list. But the developer no longer has any requirements for that because it was signed off on by the municipality.
Thank you. And I don't believe it's fairly new. I believe it's probably 30 years, 20 years now. So it's not that new, but thank you for that.
Okay, continuing, so I mentioned hydrant installations, 50,000. Highway signage, 40,000. Playgrounds, 20,000. A light equipment mower, 8,000. So that was our capital. So for now, we'll talk a little bit about operating changes. So some of these are not necessarily increases, but just movement or transfers from like one department to the next or one division to the next. So under administration, deferred digitalization project was deferred to 2027. So you'll see basically that was a savings for 2026 of 132,000. In administration, HR and safety and also GIS was moved to separate cost centers. 457,000, but there was no net budget impact. Under administration, facility costs were moved to facilities, 56,000, also no net budget impact. In community transportation, includes a full-time anti-bus driver and transfer of administrative position, 71,000. In economic development, a net increase due to funding of a lobbyist previously funded by reserves. So now the county will be funding it directly through taxation, 105,000. In fire protection, there's an increase in paid on-call allocations, seasonal fire technician, and decreased revenue offset by various reductions in expenses of 382,000.
Thank you very much. Director, they were getting close to 10:30 for our delegation who will be coming in. So maybe if we could stop here and then we'll pick it up as soon as we're done with our in-closed session.
Okay.
One question.
Yes. Oh, yep, we have one question. Sorry, Councillor Captain.
Just a question to come back with, just because you are going through this list. I was interested, in finding out what our contract and how long for it is with lobbyists. And if we are gonna be looking at, at renewing and or other
We could,
cost-effective alternatives.
we could certainly report back on that.
Okay, excellent, thank you.
Thank you. All right, I think maybe we should do a recess if we, or is our delegation here? They're here, okay. Is it okay then if we ask them for a 5-minute recess? Yeah, okay. So we'll do a 5-minute recess. When we come back, we'll be going into closed. Thank you. All right, council, we are back from our recess and we will be going into closed session. May I have a motion to go into close? Counselor Chisholm? Thank you so much. Counselor Chisholm would like to make the motion that we go into closed session. All those in favor? Are there any opposed? Thank you, 9-0. We're going into close. All right, whenever you're ready, Mr. Jordan. We didn't vote on it, did we? So all those in favor to come out of closed? And do we have any opposed? Thank you, 8-0. All right, coming out of close, we have two motions. Counselor Chisholm would like to, on 12.1, would like to direct administration to pursue a lease with Blue Heron Estates Community League for county facilities within Northeast 146618, west of the 4th, 7920936 MR and 8121714 MSR. And to direct administration to contact the school boards and schedule a public hearing as required to lease 7920936 MR and 8121714 MSR. And to direct administration to provide Blue Heron Estates Community League with an impromptu grant annually in the amount of the 2025 value of the MOA upon receiving an application annually. And that upon signing the lease, Blue Heron Estates Community League be added under 4.5.6 of policy 6215 and the MOA with Blue Heron Estates Community League be canceled. If there's no further discussion, all those in favor? Are there any opposed? Thank you. That's 8-0. And with regards to item 12.3, Deputy Reeve Minns would like to direct administration to move forward with a purchase agreement in the amount of $565,000 for the property on the east portion of Southeast 106323 west of the 4th. If there's no further discussion, all those in favor? Are there any opposed? No opposed, 8-0. Thank you very much. And we will recess for lunch. We'll take 30 minutes. So if we can return, please, at 12:55. Awesome. Thank you very much. Are we ready to go? Yep, we're good to go. Awesome. Thank you. We're back from lunch and we are returning to item 7.5, the 2026 draft operating and capital budgets. And I know we took a little hiatus there, but we'll turn the floor back over to Director Daly, please. Daly. I think the presentation will be coming up soon on screen. That's okay. No worries. Please, yeah. Alrighty. There we are. Yep.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, councillors. So I'll just finish off presentation and then I guess we'll get into the detail of each departmental budget. Thank you. So I finished off with
Sorry. We just finished.
Just because we're on this page before we jump ahead, there's a comment on here on the fourth line down that we've included a full-time handy bus driver. And I thought there was a policy that council approved all new positions. I didn't know if that applied or didn't, or I know I was surprised by it when I saw it last time and was that a council decision or did that not apply, that policy not apply?
I can't answer that. I don't know if there's a policy. I would have to go back and look. Maybe the CAO might have some insight there.
We'll look into that and report back.
Thank you.
Okay. We'll go to the next slide. So continuing on with our 2026 proposed operating changes, fire protection, there's an increase in transfer to reserve capital of 250,000. Fire protection decrease in emergency management due to end of grant funding, 50,000. Infrastructure services, increase in agriculture services for new position and transfer of large scale mowing program. Mowing program was reduced in road construction. So basically it was transferred from road construction over to the agriculture services of 535,000. And then in infrastructure services, overall decrease in common services, decrease in feasibility studies, decrease in pit management activities, decrease in repairs and maintenance, increase in vehicle and equipment rentals, increase in maintenance supplies, and this is offset by a lower 2026 revenue. So the total effect was 67,000. Continuing in infrastructure services, increase in recreation mainly due to increase in multiplex cost and recreation plan, 460,000. Increase in road construction includes bridge repair. Bridge repair was moved to operations, increased dust control, and 1 million net revenue decrease for gross recovery. So the overall effect of 1.2 million. Infrastructure services, increase in water services mainly due to $3 reduction in water rate, 130,000. And infrastructure services, increase in gravel road maintenance, including increase in gravel and changing gravel specification, 589,000.
Who am I missing? Councillor Hall, thank you.
I think I'm just wondering if the multiplex budget lines are up to date. I was trying to look back on emails, but I think
The final, the last previous board meeting, I think it happened in October. The numbers changed. So those numbers, I believe has to come to council before, they're not in this budget. The agreement that was made is in this budget, but not the numbers that they passed at their multiplex board is not in this budget.
thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? Okay, please go ahead. Thank you.
So final slide is proposed new positions for 2026. Infrastructure Services, Agriculture Assistant Field Man, 110,000. And this 110,000 is included in the proposed changes, like it's built in. Fire Protection, Regional Fire Smart Coordinator, 2-year term. Salary and advertising is funded by grant, so the cost to the county would be 48,000. This is included in the Fire Protection previous changes. And then interim position, so we applied for a grant for a finance interim position. It's an 18-month term. If successful, it would be, we would receive 62,500 from the grant, and the county would have to cover 70,000. This amount is included in your detail, but not in the on the slide on the proposed operating changes. And that is the presentation. Is there any additional questions?
I don't see any, but I would like to say thank you again. This is great. Good information, well thought out budget that we're looking at so far. And I know I really appreciate all the effort that has been put into this. So thank you very much. I don't think council has any other further comments or questions. So we are at the stage where we are on page 115 of our agenda. And if everybody would like to, what we kind of did the last time was go through, we skipped past the budget summary, but we looked at each department just to kind of see if anybody has any questions or comments that they would like to make. And if there isn't any, we'll just keep going through the package. So we will start with administrative services on page 118. And just so, Councillor Dalek, we've just finished our presentation and we're on page 118 of our agenda package. And we're going to go through each department's budget and see if there's any comments or concerns or changes anybody would like to see. So we'll start again with administrative services. Is there anything anyone would like to discuss or bring forward? Perfect. Next one is on, let me get there, is Ag Services, and that's on page 125 of our package. Is there any concerns, any questions? All right. Going. Next one. And as everybody notices, there are change requests that are in here that explain some of the budgets. So hopefully everybody's had a chance to read those. We're looking at page 131, which is the airport. Anything here, folks? All righty, we're gonna keep going. Cemetery on page 134. It's getting easier, isn't it? Awesome. All right, we have common services. I believe that one begins on page 136. This usually attracts a little bit of attention. This is easy peasy. Did you want to have a look at that one? Common services, you're good?
I don't know if this is, sorry,
Please go ahead.
just with the cemetery budget. Is there any plans like to have something for people that don't want to get married, but
A columbarium?
yes. Is there something in the future? Just
I-
because I'm new and I don't know where this is all.
Sorry,
from.
what's the question?
Is there a plan for columbarium in any one of our cemeteries?
I don't know, we'd have to look into that. It's not part of our level of service today. I'm very familiar with those from other places, so if council wanted to do that, then we could look into that.
Right, so that would be a good spot for an RFD.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Is that okay?
Well, we did discuss it once a couple of years ago and
For
yeah,
both.
they decided against doing it because of the cost and the demand, I think.
I'm sorry.
It's difficult to hear.
We discussed it once a couple of years ago and I think Councillor Kapitanek would probably be the best to speak on it, but I think that we didn't move ahead because of the cost and the demand.
It was for the Boyle, the municipal, one in Boyle, if I'm not mistaken, but, we can pull it out of the, agenda package from back then and give you some information on it.
Okay, thank you.
Awesome. We're just gonna make a note for that. Okay. All right, so we're back to common services, gone here pretty quick. Okay, community transportation, which is on page 141 of your package. Anything here? This is awesome. I think that was only hit hard. Economic development, page 144. Okay. We're going to move to page 146, emergency management and highway 63 emergency services. Pretty quiet. We will move to page 149, enforcement services. Please go ahead. Counselor Chisholm.
Enforcement services, again, I don't know what this all entails. But just some of the issues that with like even subdivisions, and they have certain guidelines that to build and nothing's being enforced. So now people just can put 10 trailers, like the mobile trailers, on a lot, and yet everybody else has complied. That would be an enforcement issue. And do we, as a county, do we enforce this? Because it's been kind of a complaint. So I'm just wondering, like, do our Athabasca County enforcement officers, do they go out and enforce all this?
Madam Chair, that'd be a great topic of discussion. I think last council discussed enforcement many times, I believe, even before I arrived, was what level enforcement do you want? And council never arrived at a consensus as to adopt a policy. Let's put it that way. I think there was some that would have liked more active enforcement and some that believed we should only be reacting to complaints. And so, is that fair, Madam Chair?
It's very fair. Yes, it's, we're primarily complaint based. And there was definite conversation about, compliance officers and, being a little more, when you see it, deal with it type scenario, but it didn't pan out to go any further than the conversation.
It certainly would be a good topic for strategic planning for council to say, is this an area that needs more attention? Absolutely.
Thank you.
All righty, anybody? Yeah, please go ahead, Counselor, Deputy Reedmans.
Just wondering on page 149, 2262 rental vehicle equipment. We had nothing in 25 and now all of a sudden we're sitting there with 24,000. Is that for a new vehicle or
Please.
a lease or what?
Madam Chair, Deputy Rees Mins, that's lease on a truck.
Lease on a truck? Okay, thank you.
Okay, anybody else? All right, the next item up is facilities on page 152. Is there anything there for anybody? All righty, the next one is on page 154. I believe, 154, which is FCSS. And we'll keep on going. The next item up is 150 on page 158, fire protection services. This is getting easy. It's a big one. And again, there's a few budget change request forms there for folks to see what was going on there. Last chance. Okay, page 170, the GIS services. Well, this is a great budget. Human Resources and Safety, page 172. Okay, page 175, Legislative. That's us. That's us, yeah. Any questions on here? Okay, the Library Board, page 178. Okay, Planning and Development, page 180. Oh my goodness. Alrighty, page 183, we have the Recreation Services. And I'm just, I may have skipped by it. I can never seem to find trails. Which department? I thought it would be under Recreation, Services, but I could be wrong. I know there was $10,000 set aside for it, but I can't remember which department it fits under.
Madam Chair, on page 185 under line 2755. So page 185 and then under 2755, transfer to organizations.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you. So I was just curious, we had discussed a little bit about some concerns on some weed, tansy issues on the trail between Collinton and Athabasca. I was just curious, the extra 5,000 that's here for, it's for admin costs, that would not cover weed control, would it? I'm guessing no, just,
Madam Chair, I'd have to look into that. I don't really know. I don't recall us budgeting for the tansy, but I can look up what the last response was from our ag fieldman.
yeah, I don't think it was budgeted at all, so it was just a thought. And I guess it would of course be a decision of council if that would be something that is of interest, but I'm not even sure what cost of weed control would be in that small section.
Wouldn't weed control be under the Ag Service Board kind of?
Well, it all depends because this is for the specific trail, so I'm not sure where it would fit. So I guess it's something that we can bring back and have that conversation through an RFD.
Okay.
Yeah. So let's check it out. Okay, page 187 is your road construction and maintenance. Road construction and maintenance. No conversation happening. Go ahead, Counselor Jackson.
We seem to be rushing through this, so I'm like, oh my goodness, sorry. Road construction and maintenance, of course, this is the budget that we are proposing, correct? But have we kind of looked at like more paving around in our area? Like, I don't really know what's been identified in this budget. So like, we're going so quickly through it, like, are we just saying yes and then we're going to come back with changes or like what? I'm sorry,
Madam Chair, all happy to start.
Thank you.
And then if Marshall wants to dive in, he can. The current budget proposes no new pavement. If council wants to add some, we'll take your direction. It's for the first time in years, we've actually included a line for maintenance of the existing pavement to the tune of 1.5 million, over 1.5 million. We're not sure when that was last budgeted, but we've got how many miles that needs maintenance, and Marshall's sitting on about a 10-year plan to get us caught up on all the overlays and everything that needs to be done to maintain the current pavement. But otherwise, there's no new pavement proposed.
Yeah, Council or CEO Beck is dead on. We do have a draft 10-year plan that council has not seen. So that's why I say it's draft. But it includes only priority of our existing infrastructure and ensuring that it is protected and maintained to a level that it needs to be. The current surfacing policy I know that there's the previous council has some concerns around it. And so I'm assuming there will be discussion during strategic planning or at some point in the new year around the surfacing policy. It's primarily focused on subdivisions right now. When you look at the criteria, you would have to be a multi-lot subdivision probably to meet the criteria of that policy. So whether council decides to change the policy or change, the, I guess, criteria associated for surfacing. And at that point, I'm assuming we would have a discussion of, what we could afford moving forward. Every time you add 1 kilometer of surface road to the inventory, you have to add it to our maintenance. Everybody knows that, but just reminding. So you increase both budgets. Not only are you paving something new or surfacing, if you choose an alternative structure, you still need to maintain that moving forward. I would suggest it's the right thing to how to do things. Don't build stuff you can't afford to maintain. So I would suggest that's probably a strategic planning item as well, but this budget does not include any new surfacing. It's just maintaining existing.
So if I can put it out there, the budget is basically focusing on maintenance and repair
Yes,
of our current infrastructure before we concentrate on adding more.
correct.
Correct. Okay. Go ahead.
Well, I certainly think that, we have a healthy budget. And looks like we're gonna continue having a healthy budget. I think now is the start at the time that we starting to add some pavement in our county. We haven't paved any roads for years and years. We should get into some type of a program, and I'm just wondering if I could ask administration to get a cost on, say, 8 kilometers of pavement.
Madam Chair, we're happy to. It all depends on the road. If you're thinking of the one in particular, I think we got a cost 2 years ago. It depends what surfacing and everything else. And I can't recall that cost, but it was presented to council in draft budget for 2024 and wasn't included. So we did get a cost, a preliminary cost for that connector road. And so we can easily report that back to you. We did receive a cost.
Are we doing any collaboration with other municipalities in the area? Say Lac-La-Biche County?
I reported to council of a meeting I had with their CAO. And that was shared with council. So.
Well, I'll ask for a report or a cost on.
Yeah, I think it was in the 2023 budget, if I'm not mistaken. Was it 2023?
No, I think it was 24 because I was here. I wasn't here for the 23 budget. I was here for the 24
So it's in
budget.
2024, but
What's gonna happen is other areas and divisions, there's other areas that need paving as well, and the sooner we start, we're gonna be one step ahead. If we keep failing to do that or not being able to do that, we're gonna run into trouble in a few years. I always go back to the Klein days when Klein cut everything back and wanted to balance the budget and stuff, and we're paying for it now with no new hospitals, no new schools. It's easy to balance a budget if you don't do anything, but we've got to look out there, public interest and safety. So yeah, I'll ask for that cost.
yeah. And I think too, it's going to be really great when we finally get a chance to sit down, and I believe it's January, February, we'll be doing our strat planning. And then as Director Morton has been working extremely hard on a 10-year road plan as well. And so all of that will come together in full circle so that we will be able to make really good and informed decisions on exactly what you're referring to on making progress in these areas. Absolutely.
Well, where have the years gone by? I remember 25 years ago, we were discussing this, and we've never paved anything since. All we do is we discuss and we discuss, we have the strategic planning and nothing's happening. You know, we gotta decide we're gonna do something or else decide we're doing nothing. You know, we gotta move ahead.
Yeah, thank you. Understood.
And I know in the past too, there's been promises that, you know, pavement was gonna happen and to date hasn't happened. So again, if we're gonna do a strategic plan, at least we can start identifying these issues that we need to start paving and we need to start doing some of that stuff. And yes, we need the money to maintain it as well, but, and correct, I mean, maintenance is important and that's a priority. But, if we could definitely take a look at what was promised before and hasn't yet been delivered, so, as a county, so.
And I think now is the time, you know, our interest rates are low, our oil prices are low. I believe, I'll bet you our paving will be a lot less now than it was several years ago when we had high oil prices and the interest rate was a little higher. So I think now is the opportune time to start looking at things like that.
Thank you. Councillor Stacey.
I got a couple questions. What is recovery revenue?
So basically what gross recovery is our hourly rates on our internal equipment and what we bill other departments for. It's an internal transfer of cost. If we go do work for planning and development and we bill the equipment to their budget, you know, their budget gets billed for it and the revenue comes back. It's really a net zero game when it's in the, if
Right.
you look into the big overall
So since-
budget, we as an administration do not care for this type of budgeting. And so we would like to get rid of it and we're working very diligently to do that. But it's really a net zero game. When you look at the overall budget, it's really just internal transfers and it's an exercise in futility. If you ask
I've
me.
actually struggled with that. Oh, I got off. It's on. I've actually struggled with that for quite a few years because I'm thinking, okay, so we have it, we spend it, we still have it. Where is it? Like, you know, is it going into our reserves? Is it going into another budget or like, you know, I can understand if you hired somebody from the outside and you paid them, well, it's gone. But when you pay somebody from within, where did it go? Now, the other question I have, and that ties right in with this, can you explain depreciation to me? It's my understanding that depreciation is a loss in value. So how does that become an expense here that we can actually put our fingers on and say, okay, here's the money right here. This is what we lost.
You go ahead.
Yeah, I'd be happy to answer it. I hate that it shows up in a budget too, but it's important to note that it's a non-cash item. So it shows up as an expense, but in the overall cover page of the entire budget, it gets added back into everyone. It's a net, it's a zero. It's
Correct.
just an accounting thing.
Okay, yeah.
So we don't bill the taxpayer for depreciation.
No, but you see the numbers that are there start adding up and get a bit confusing because it looks like we've got a $3 million expense there where in fact, it's just a fictitious
And I
number.
wish we could just add it in each
Yeah,
page, which we
right.
could in the future. I'll let Jeff explain it instead of explaining it to me.
CAO, Mr. Beck was correct. It is for budgeting purposes, it is an expense and then we add it back. But when you do see the financial statements in April, you will not see depreciation added back. It's non-cash, but for the financial statements, when capital is also included for the bottom line, the value of our assets will depreciate over time. If you got a piece of equipment that's going to last 10 years, the value is going down. So you will see the expense that's not added back. But for budgeting purposes, it's non-cash, so it is added back. But for financial statements, like when you see the income statement, it will not be added back. So for for all intents and purposes, in budgeting, yes, it's added back. It's a no non-cash effect. So it's used basically some cases to balance the budget. You see people using it, organizations using it to balance the budget. But then when you see the financials, which is a different thing because this is like the budget variance reports, but when you actually see the income statement, you won't see depreciation added back, although it is on there as an expense. I don't know if that
Yeah,
clarifies.
no, it does, yeah, yeah. What I'm also was gonna ask you is recapture depreciation, because that's when the final numbers are actually calculated, correct? Like if you sold something at the depreciated down and you got more money than you thought you were, that's recapture depreciation. So then that's a different number again.
That's correct. If we sold a piece of equipment that, say, for example, we could have fully depreciated, but we actually made some money on it, we could have a recapture or we could have a gain or loss depending what value we sold that for.
Okay, yeah, understood. Thank you.
Good. Is there anybody else who would like to, please, Councillor Hall?
I think we also need to think about the depreciation effects or the wearing out effects in terms of, you know, when we're using this equipment, we do need to be setting money aside in some way to replace it. And some of that, I think, could be reflected through the depreciation category. We've talked a little bit about the need for, you know, increased maintenance through the email chains that have been going around over the last couple of weeks on our road infrastructure. And so, you know, before we get into lots of grand plans, I think we have to come back to looking after the stuff we've got. And so I know there's a change request in here to go to a 3-year gravel rotation. Is there more places that administration can highlight for us where this increased focus on maintenance of our existing road infrastructure is demonstrated in the budget?
Sorry, go.
Through the chair to Councillor Hall. So some of the things that we've done is obviously is we're trying to add or change the cycle for the gravel. I actually was on the phone with a training organization that comes in to do grader training. So I was making sure that we had a training slot for next year because they're filled up. So we're going to be doing some training of operators where we're bringing in qualified specialists to assist with that. We've changed our spec on gravel to help remove some of the fines in the bottom end of the gravel spec, which will coarsen it up some, make it, you know, provide us a better crust on the road where it'll shed water better. It won't be as muddy, hopefully when it rains. So those are all things that we're doing. And we've spent a lot of time talking with our operators on focusing on areas that I guess we as administration have with gravel roads and where we feel that we can improve. There's been a significant amount of time spent on trying to increase the operators' knowledge of what the expectations are in relation to gravel road maintenance. So I guess hopefully that answers your question, Councillor Hall.
You know, we've also talked a little bit about the projects, and I think, you know, for me, there's no doubt that we need to have a discussion around level of service that relates to what we're doing and regarding our maintenance, and also on how we prioritize new projects. And we, like, the nightmare for me is we all show up at the table with our 3 favorites and you know, try to negotiate it here. The first step is asking admin to work with council or to build on their own, in my opinion, a clear set of priorities and a way to rank our projects so that we can just rank the projects. And then once we know what they are, we can go out to people and be clear with them about your road is important, but it's number 4 and we have to work our way through them. But I really can't get behind us. I mean, I'm worried that we're going to head down a path of we're all just picking our project. And I think we really need a conversation about how we define those projects. Does it relate to maintenance? Does it relate to road counts? Does it relate to industry? Does it And, you know, we have the right admin team to come up with that. And then after all of that, if we want to start spending money, we got to start talking about where the money comes from. This is still spend. And I'm like, you know, it seems like it's been a race to get through the budget to get to page 187, but I really have a question about, can we challenge admin to say, these are the priorities and talk about them as a group, if it's increased maintenance and all of that, but also how can we tighten up a little bit? Because I'm not okay with a 2% tax hike come the spring. Until we've had a real thorough discussion about all the pieces inside. And I've said this before, and I know we're not all have been here for as long, but we just keep adding. And at some point we have to ask, well, if we're going to add something, what are we going to not do in order to do that? And I think we should have more discussion around that.
Thank you, Councillor Dowling.
Well, you know what? It's fine. It's fine for you to say that or anybody else to say that when they drive 10 miles of pavement to work. I've got school buses that can't make it through a road. I've got ambulance people that can't make it through a road. You know, what about these people? Sure, we can tighten. I don't want to see no tax going up or whatever. You know, maybe we can cut back in some other areas and look at some major projects. Come on, we just can't let roads go like that. You know, they're just in a state of, you know, I don't even know if you could pave that road anymore. It's that far gone. You know, there's no money being put in there for a shoulder pull. There's no money putting in there for a lot more gravel. It just needs a total rebuild, and a total rebuild will go a long ways to help with the paving of that project. You know, now is the time we do it.
Thank you. And if I may weigh in as well.
If I can follow up though.
Sure.
I mean, I feel like I've been pretty clear about my own view that maintenance is important and we need to do it, but you know, I'd remind my colleague, there's more than one road in the county. And we need to figure out how they all come together and so maintenance matters. And when admin comes to us and says, here are our number 1 through 3 priorities, I want to be the guy that is first in line to put my hand up to support it. But we've got to figure out how we make those decisions. That's my point. It has to be in a way that's equitable and balanced across the whole county. And you're right, there are terrible roads in all districts, and we have to work with the experts who are sitting at the end of the table here to figure out how we get after them.
And just before you start, and that's where I was getting at, when we have our strat plan, these are when we can sit down and discuss what our priorities are. When we have the road plan, that information will give us that data so that we're able to make those decisions on where the priorities sit and what works well and what council all agrees on. And so they've been working diligently on gathering that data, making that happen so that when we get to the table again, in doing our strat plan, we will have so much more information to be able to make an educated decision. And I really appreciate what's going on. I really appreciate what's being said here today, because we all are passionate about our roads. And we all know, as Councillor Hall said, every division has some issues on particular roads that everyone is struggling with. I know where yours is, I know where mine is, you know, and we're all in that same boat, and our residents are asking for the same thing. And so we're working towards that. Would we like it done tomorrow? You bet. But unfortunately, that's not as easy to do that. So I look forward to really getting into that conversation as soon as we can. We will have another chance, of course, looking at this budget. And as Councillor Hall mentioned, we are going through it quite fast. And it's basically because we've had it for a little bit of time that we have to sit down and actually go through it ahead of the meeting so that we can figure out where our questions are. We have another chance to talk about it on December 11th in council. So it's not all, this is not a final by any means. We're not voting on the budget today. Okay, but go ahead, Councillor Dowling.
Well, we talk about maintenance. Well, just how much maintenance can you do on a road? When you do maintenance on a road and 2 days later, it's back to the same state it was. Come on, we just got to look at what's happening there. And the fact that we got no money to upgrade that road this year, you know, it's just not right. You know, do a little homework and, you know, I can carry on with my presentation next meeting.
Is that a RFD coming our way, Mr. Dowling? Wait, Councillor Stasia.
Was there just a rough estimate what it would cost to fix that segment he's talking about? My fear is that if it could be a safety issue here, and I'm not trying to promote it or anything like that. It's, are we talking like millions and millions? Are we talking few 100,000? What are we talking?
No. As I recall, it was, when it was shown to council in 2024, it was about 3.6 million.
To repave, upgrade and then repave. Or,
And I don't know, we'd have to get a new estimate from our engineer right now and
right, okay, no, just
so
curious.
it was in the millions. Yeah.
Go ahead, Deputy Regents.
I guess this brings up quite the conversation all of a sudden because what we've done, we're asking for asphalt now, we're asking for pavement on certain roads and everything. And what was it, 3 years ago, we totally dismantled our road rebuilding budget down to nothing. And I think if we go further into here into capital, we still are at nothing. So we're not even rebuilding any roads and we're asking for asphalt. And then on the other hand, we're being told that we got no gravel left. We need more gravel. Gravel actually is a big commodity for asphalt. And you have to maintain roads if you, and maintaining roads is actually rebuilding roads. And I'd love to have asphalt throughout this whole county, but we need to get back into rebuilding some roads. Cause I'll guarantee you that one that Councillor DeHollock's talking about right now needs to be rebuilt first before the asphalt, but that's my point of view. We've got to get back to building roads.
So what direction would councillors like to give
Can I
administration?
have one more?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay, yeah, talking about this road, that road has been rebuilt every couple of 3 years in my lifetime. And nothing's ever worked, but they've used different products. You know, it's got, I'll guarantee you, it's got the most traffic on it, any road in the county. You know, we check with the traffic count. And, you know, we look at industry in that part of the area where you got Alpac and you got all the logging truck and now you got the tar sands, you got Black Pearl and Wandering River. They're all using those roads. You know, and they're just not gonna stand up with rebuilding, you know, not that kind of traffic.
Thank you. Anybody else? Is there any direction that council would like to give administration for this budget for rebuilding roads?
I don't know if administration needs direction. I think we're coming back to the plan, right? We're already coming back with a plan on roads and
Is that the direction of council? You want us to come back with a paving plan? Based on the current policy or a different policy, or what would you like?
no, but there was all these traffic counts that just went
Oh.
across the whole county. Hopefully, we've spent the money on all of these traffic counts. It comes back with a plan, an understanding of why all these traffic counts went and was done. But I think if I remember right, there was some sort of plan, maintenance plan for asphalt roads and stuff like that. So I think that's,
Yeah, through the chair, the current draft policy plan, 10-year plan that we're working on is associated with existing
Yeah.
surfaced roads. There's been no plan started in relation to rebuilding gravel roads at this point in time. And there's been no, I guess, serious work done on a plan for new surfacing. From our perspective, we felt that the policy might need some work. Under the current policy, the road in question wouldn't qualify. It would not be priority number one under that policy. So you probably need to do some work on the policy before, unless council says, "Hey, pick that road." But
What we could do, if it's a topic of council, they're really interested in it. And this becomes our new number one priority, which changes week to week. We're okay with that. We could bring back the current policy and show you what the policies look like in other communities, so you see. Our policy is very heavily weighted towards paving in the subdivisions. Is that fair? But it kind of ignores the main roads. So, but that's not a policy I'm familiar with, or Director Morton. We're used to seeing policies address the main roads first, but each place is unique. And if our goal here is to pave all the subdivisions first, that's fine. What we could do is bring you back some samples of other places of how they prioritize hard surfacing of new roads. How's that?
Yeah.
And we'll show you our policy and what the policies look like from some of our competitors.
When that happens, though, what do you have to drop to make that happen? Right? You have to stop doing something else that,
Well, that's two different things. I think we'd start with what our
Exactly.
policy looks like compared to other places. So that, in order for us to, like, for example, for us to put together a pavement plan for the current one, it's basically going to be all the subdivisions that are not paved. And we'd have to have traffic counts within the subdivisions. So we'd have to go back out and do those. So that's what the policy says. And a past council adopted it, and that's fine.
thank you. Deputy Reed Mins and then Councillor Callahan.
Yeah, I like that idea because I've been for many years, I've been saying that we got asphalt in place, we need to actually maintain it. And we do have some spots in Athabasca County that need second lifts, need overlays. We used to lay down some chip seals every once in a while but that isn't productive enough. We need some overlays. So that plan is perfect. And I think regarding any other plans, I think we need to go through a strategic plan first, right? And get the idea from all the council where their thoughts and minds actually want to go with this but to look after our existing asphalts is a definite need. So.
Right. Thank you. Councillor Callahan.
I was just gonna point out, we need to be really careful with our funds, especially when you're just gonna be throwing down asphalt and whatever. I'm from Ward 9. There's our problem road has been rebuilt. There has been pavement put on it. I'm putting it in air quotes. If you don't have the money to maintain it, trust me, it falls apart. It causes a bigger issue. It's putting a Band-Aid on something that's just gonna bleed through. So I think we need to be really careful looking into that.
Thank you. Councillor Chisholm.
Fair enough, but we do need to take a look at new projects, new pavements, so we need to go forward with the plan on that. We haven't done anything in 3 years. That's not acceptable either as a county, so I think we need something to be proactive.
I'd also like to point out to just, when we look at it, this council, the prior council, as you mentioned, we had a little bit of a stoppage on road building, but when we keep looking back in history, these roads that we're referring to have been coming to councils for decades, right? So they haven't been able to get through the budget with being able to pave them as well. So it's a bit of a magic trick that we're going to try and figure out how to do that. But I'm also on board with, we have to also make sure that what we've got as existing is functioning. But please go ahead, Councillor Hall, and then Councillor Stacey.
So a couple of different things that are maybe a little disconnected, but I don't think it's fair to make we haven't done anything. It's council made a conscious choice to fix bridges. And that maybe was, we can debate whether it's the right choice, wrong choice. We need to respect the decision that the past made. Just like the council before and the council before. If we don't like it, it's our choice to change policy. But surely we can't undo what occurred in the past, because if we could do that, there'd be lots of things we'd all go back and fix. I really want to bring us back to the idea that we have to sit down together and talk about level of service. We have to talk about what is the level we want to deal with. We have to maintain what we've got, as a colleague has said, and a plan. And the first thing we need to maintain before we start spending, 5 cents on asphalt is we have to maintain the gravel we've got. Like we're not, I don't know if I've been getting different emails than everybody else, but it doesn't seem like we're doing a brilliant job of that right now based on what we're seeing in the budget. We're being asked to increase our graveling program to catch up on that. And that's part of a plan. I do think we have to get together and have a bigger plan and work on looking after. If you want to leave your mics off till we're all done.
It just helps me signal it,
If you put your mic off, Jack, because it makes it so we can't hear when they're all come on. Okay, go ahead. And we have to be able to pay for it. And what I've heard from the experts this end, gravel to start with is the first and most important thing we can afford to, it's the cheapest. And I don't think we all need a reminder, there's a significant tax appeal that we have to remember could affect our budget in a whopping way. So this, like, there's a lot of stuff in here, we're not gonna get 2026's budget perfect for everybody's want. We have to use it as a tool to move forward on the direction that the council wants to go. And then really spend the time focusing on how we define level of service in our collective plans and how we want to elevate and bring the county forward over the next 12 months. But it's not a discussion that's going to occur between November 13th and the day this budget gets approved, because our admin team simply, I don't think, has the resources to make all that happen if we start talking about new policy and all of that. And I really look forward to a day when we can sit around on a workshop type meeting and talk through how do we find the right balance on new policy that that meets those needs of industry and of residents. And that's I mean, to me, that's one of the most important things we do. And in my view, I mean, the 2027 budget starts in March of 2026. We need to be having those discussions.
Thank you. Councillor Dowling.
Well,
I'm sorry, pardon me. Councillor Stasiak was online and then you're next. I apologize.
Just got a quick question for you. Whereabouts is this road? And how is it, or where is it in relation to a highway? Like, I've heard all about this road, but I really don't have any idea where it is. Because what my point is that I'm wondering if it couldn't be integrated into like 63 going up north. Integrated through a provincial government process, maybe they would take it over and say, okay, well, because there's such heavy traffic going to McMurray or wherever it goes, maybe they'll take part in this thing and that would make the picture a little different for you.
well, that's what I often said is, why aren't we collaborating with the other municipalities and government and trying to get some funds together? And as far as priorities and stuff, well, where was council the last 3 years, the last 10 years? Shouldn't we have been working on some of this stuff instead of just getting rid of our road building program? We should have never done that. We should have been looking ahead back then. And now we come to a point where things have to be done, and we're still going to be postponing projects like that.
Well,
Not right to me.
I think you also have to understand where we're at with our bridge program. And so when we're looking at our bridge program, that's another conversation that we'll be having to bring you all up to speed as well. And as Councillor Hall had mentioned, there's been a lot of work done on bridges in this last term because it was absolutely necessary to do so. And again, we're only dealing with a certain amount of a budget, but it'll come to light when we sit down and actually get the full 360 of all of the issues.
Well, just one more comment. We're talking about bridges. We're going to lose a $5 million bridge minimum if we don't get that road fixed, because people and big trucks are bypassing that road and going across the yellow bridge. That's pretty soon, going to need some maintenance. We're going to be saving $5 million minimum by saving that bridge if we don't do that road, because that bridge is not going to last too much longer.
So I guess then the question becomes is, when do we start restricting what type of traffic are on these roads? And if they're bypassing other main roads to use these roads, at what point do we sit down and say, maybe we should be considering certain restrictions on these roads?
Well, I don't know how you're going to stop big logging trucks and big tankers. It's their route.
Is it their routes or their shortcut?
Well,
I
it's
don't
not
understand.
for us to decide. The trucks are on that route.
No. I think we can make those decisions. And if it saves the roads and the expense to allow for safer passage, then maybe that's something we do look at in the short term. There's all kinds of things that we can look at there. But again, that's for a strategic planning conversation. Does anybody else have anything else that they would like to bring into road construction on the budget? Okay. We will definitely be having that conversation again. I know that. All right, so page 193, we're at waste management. Is there anything there anyone would like to discuss? All right, we are moving to page 195 on wastewater services. Counselor Hall.
Waste management, so do we? It would be good and nice if we, whether it's, multiplex or waste commission. These are fairly significant spends. It would be nice to see these boards come and maybe present at some point to council, whether it's year-end stuff or a budget, but the waste management's, again, big jump and just it would be, I guess I'd be interested to know kind of what's baked into that and what their plan is to, like, if they have a plan to minimize it or.
Are you asking
Or-
for a report from the committee or?
Yeah, and I know, again, I can't speak to waste management. I know on the multiplex agenda certainly is a discussion item that would sort of make it a standard practice to once the year end is done, to show up and present the financial statements. You're kind of the way the libraries do and because it's it's one of our biggest single checks that the county writes is to that rec facility. So I just, as we're looking at this, and I didn't work out the percentage, but there's another healthy jump and we start adding 40,000-50,000 bucks a line item here and there, and it adds up pretty fast. We've just kind of come through a discussion talking about how do we increase our maintenance. I don't know, for me, where are the places we can tighten up a little bit and.
Thank you. Anybody else? All right, we're on page 195 for wastewater services. Is there anything there anyone would like to discuss? We move to page 197 for water supply. Is there anything here anyone would like to discuss?
Yes, that 500,000, that's the buying of the water, I take it.
I'll refer to administration, correct?
Correct. That's cost of the water from the commission.
What line are you on?
Okay. Everyone's clear there? Go ahead, please, Councilor, Deputy Reed Mins.
Well, and that, and then I'm just gonna be the bearer of great news here, that line's gonna go up. Because our water prices are going up from the commission. So that'll be another discussion this council is gonna have to have later on is on water rates.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's coming. So,
Prepared.
utility rates, see? It wasn't. Going from 413 to 435, yeah. So, it doesn't sound like much, but it's going up, so. What do we charge right now in Collington? 424.
Yeah.
So we can't even make money
Right.
there. So.
It'll be a conversation.
That is a long conversation we're gonna have.
Absolutely. Be part of the
Hopefully
water rate
short, but
bylaw.
it'll probably be long.
And it'll be a conversation for the water rate bylaw, for sure. And I believe sooner than later probably would be better. Yeah, to bring everybody, there's a lot of components that we need to bring everybody up to speed on for sure. Okay. Is there anybody else that wants to discuss water supply? And then we move into our capital projects on page 201. Anybody like to weigh in on this one? Yeah, I know it's difficult to read on this, the tiny print here, but does anybody have anything that they would like to discuss for capital projects? We do have, as you see on page 202 and 203, the 5-year capital plan. And of course, there's the budget change request forms that explain it all. Well, not all of it, but some components of it. Pretty quiet bunch. Please go ahead, Deputy Reed Mins.
Our grader replacement program, that has not changed, right? that still our graders are warranted for 5 years, 8,000 hours?
No, that'll be cheap. So we're looking at purchasing,
Oh, sorry, thank you.
I'm sorry. Through the chair to Deputy Reeve Hall, or Min, sorry. So we will be changing our grader purchase practices. We will be buying the additional warranty and moving to 10,000, 7 years, 10,000 hour warranty. Yeah, right now we're finding we are exceeding the hours, and so we get outside of the warranty. And quite frankly, replacing the graders every 5 years. We need to come up with a way to be more efficient in our budget management. So one of the things that we're looking at is a 7-year replacement and buy the extra warranty.
Okay, no, that sounds good. I don't have any problem with that because as long as we're matching it up with warranty and years of service and that, because I don't wanna, we worked long and hard trying to get our grader fleet on and to keep it on warranty. Every once in a while, I remember I used to hear some counselors say, well, we should be running them way past and we should be owning it or taking them off the warranty end, and it's like, that's not a good idea. Keep them on the warranty end and perfect, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Counselor Stasiak.
Is
And then
there
Councillor
a guaranteed buyback on these graders when we trade them?
Through the chair, no, that was a program that CAT had. You know, you can still get it. Not sure it's the best option at this time. Probably a better option is pitting them against each other for taking our replacements. So we get a guarantee from multiple like CAT, John Deere, and even the auction facilities to see who will guarantee what. So that's kind of how
I was
we've
just
managed.
mostly concerned that by warranting them longer, we're keeping them longer, their value is going down. Is that making any difference?
Through the chair, it probably has some effect that it's 2 years older, but it still has warranty. And most people, municipal graders are still pretty desirable on the market as they know they're well maintained. They're not typically abused, right? They're for road maintenance. They're not out doing heavy construction. So they're pretty desirable still, even at the 10,000 hours. So I don't think it's when you look at the cost of ownership and moving it there to the 7 and 10, you know, it gets us out of a scenario where we have to buy 3 or 4 some years, right? To stay on our schedule. By going and changing our schedule of replacement, it allows us to get back to a 2 a year. Other than our construction grader, right? Which somewhere it's got to fit into the 20-year capital plan. But, you know, that's a once every 10 years or so, you're going to have 3. On an average year, by going to the 7 year and 10,000 hour warranty, we can get back to only purchasing 2 graders a year.
Go ahead, please, Counselor Hall.
Just, I wonder, when I look at LGFF and the $1.9 million a year that we are projecting to come in. And then, when I guess the grader replacement program came up. Is there a chance that we can eventually move away from using LGFF to fund graders and start funding them based on, the depreciation, like as we're wearing them out, setting money aside to replace them into a reserve? Because I'm not sure that it's a wise philosophy to rely on a government check. And I know it's kind of moving money around from one pot to another, but if we're able to then take LGFF, we can clearly say that's capital money. We're gonna, invest that in roads and other things we want. But I don't know. I like what I'm hearing about the greater piece, the replacement, from the perspective that it creates a one-time cash flow boost. This is what's gonna happen. The year you make the switch, you get your cash flow changes. But after that, I mean, I think it's still important that we're planning for that 1 in 10 year replacement by setting a little bit of a tenth of what we expect to come up aside every year, so that we're doing more long-term planning and, you know, small incremental bits of money going into pots that plan for these big expenses later, rather than getting to that 1 in 10 year and saying, okay, now this is the year we've got to, I don't know, not eat lunch or juggle something else around to make it happen.
Okay, thank you. Good point. Anybody else? So are we done talking about our capital plan, folks? And our budget for today, as we do have a recommendation here to that council reviews the operating capital budgets and recommends changes for further deliberations at the December 11th, 2025 council meeting. I think that there probably will be some requests for decisions coming in, so that they will be prepared to bring that forward. If people choose to do that for the November 27th meeting, that gives administration a bit of time before December 11th. If that's something of any interest. Go ahead, please, Councillor Hall.
I just wonder about the wisdom of asking admin to look at, like, I know, you know, that the CAO's teams worked hard to be mindful of the stuff that's here. What if the tragic happens and some of these tax appeals are successful? What's the plan? And I wonder, should we ask for a briefing, closed session maybe next time on what would admin recommend? We have to, what are the backup plans if something like that happens? And I don't know if that's realistic, so I'm not making a motion, I'm floating it for the CAO's response.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that. I had a discussion with a staff person yesterday about this topic. If we had a loss of revenue of a big amount, what would you do? Well, first of all, we've got a pile of services. We did a service level review. We figured out we've got 166 at least services. You categorize those, which are the ones that you're legislated to do. You can't stop doing them. Those go in one category called essential. You can't touch it. You could change how you do them, but you can't stop doing them. And then there's a whole basket of services we do called discretionary. We've chosen to do them. You're allowed to play with those. You don't have to keep doing them. And so if you lost a whole bunch of revenue, that's probably where you would start. And then there's a whole bunch more. There's a third category called darned important. They're discretionary, but you can't stop doing them. I'll give you an example. Fire departments. Nowhere in any act does it say you must have a fire department, but it's darned important to your community, so you can't stop doing it. So yeah, there's an exercise to do if the worst happens, and we could do that. And then you would at least know, okay, there's some services that I didn't know we still do, and maybe it's time to relook at those.
Yeah, Council Hall.
And so following up on that, I wonder, you know, if the other benefit of doing that might give us a chance to have that discussion then where we could say, you know, let's go down that path, and maybe we do those things, we make those changes anyway to free up cash for road maintenance. My thing is, we can't just keep adding to the budget. You know, people were hurt this year by the change we made with the assessment change was the right change. There's no, like, I will never apologize for that, but it still hurt lots of us financially, and we need to, I think we have to do that. And so maybe we could get to a place as a group where we're not going to have a full budget nailed down by December 31st, but we're going to look to what do we stop doing that we really don't need to do or do differently so that we can focus more money on this other stuff. Because I would put the change in my pocket, at least, on the fact that if we gave admin the opportunity to go away for 5 minutes and come back with a couple of projects, they could do it. I think there's lots of work to do, and I feel like we really need to make the steps that are demonstrable steps toward that maintenance improvement.
Thank you. Are we good, folks? So I know there'll be further discussion as well, and I'll just mention a couple of other items that will probably be coming back for conversation, and that will be minimum tax as well as the cap levy and snow plowing. So these are some other areas that we'll have a conversation about as well. Snow plowing. They've heard a lot of concern coming forward, of course, from residents with regards to these items that I've mentioned, minimum tax, cap levy and snow plowing. So we have to do our justice as well to our residents as been bringing their concerns to the floor. So we'll have those conversations as well. All right. So I think if we're going to move off of budget for today, it's definitely going to stay at the forefront, I'm sure, for everybody. And as we will be coming back on December 11th. So thank you very much, administration. I really appreciate your time and your efforts and your conversation here today. Do we have a motion or somebody like to own the motion for the recommended motion? Councillor Stasiak would like to move that council reviews the 2026-2030 operating capital budget and recommend changes for further deliberations at the December 11th, 2025 council meeting. All those in favor? Are there any opposed? One, so it's 6-1. Thank you. We are moving on to 8.1A, the community event calendars. Not sure, just hang on, I gotta get organized here. Bear with me. 89, 20. Was there any additions or conversation for 8? I believe the person has left that had that information that they wanted to bring forward. And I don't see them. Oh, I do here. Apparently there is a cancellation on November 15th for the Atmore Christmas. November 15, 10 a.m. Atmore Christmas is canceled. So there's that one. Is there any other further for the event calendars? May I have a motion to receive as discussed? Councillor Calahoo, thank you. To receive the event calendars as discussed. All those in favor? And are there any opposed? Thank you, 7-0. We move to the meeting calendars, 8.2. I'll just make one quick change here. The regional collaboration meeting on November 20th has been moved to the 27th of November. And I believe on Councillor Chamzik's, there is a cancellation for the Northern Lights on November 7th. That meeting has been canceled. November 7th, Northern Lights. Okay. Is there anybody else for meeting calendars? But is there anything you needed to clarify, Councillor Chisenhalt? Okay. Anybody else? Deputy Reid Mintz.
December 8th, we have a waste commission meeting.
Okay, Base Commission
Yeah.
time,
It'd be 9:30 here in the office.
9:30. Okay. Anybody else?
Last noon, half an hour. FCSS, last noon, date.
Yeah,
Yeah, what?
yeah, last, probably till just after lunch.
Okay,
They come to you, mentioned at our FCSS meeting,
thank you.
they mentioned at the FCSS meeting that conflict and that we might be meeting over at the FCSS office that day instead.
Okay,
They were gonna send that out once it was confirmed.
okay. Fantastic, thank you. We don't have a double booking. Anybody else for meeting calendars? I know that I have a couple in my email, so I'll fire them off once I find them. But other than that, if I can get a motion to receive calendars as Councillor Hall would like to receive the calendars as discussed. All those in favor? Are there any opposed? 7-0, thank you. And I think, if I am not mistaken, we have completed all items of the agenda and we can adjourn this meeting at 2:11. Thank you all for attending.